Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Is this the first podcast since the last podcast?
Let me think. Let's see. Was I on the last podcast? No. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. I don't like that whole you thinking thing. Yeah, we're not doing any of you thinking.
Yeah, it's
Bruce.
true.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Can we put an end to that?
Hopefully so. We've seen how that worked out before, and once the police and firemen disperse, we swear we'd never do it again.
Yeah, can you send out a memo or something?
Yeah, I'll alert the authorities that he may be thinking, but just stand by. We'll let them know they're needed.
Yeah, exactly. And yet, on the other hand, when I'm being somewhat sincere, I'm very proud of the fact that our friend Kelly was a lifelong firefighter.
That's right.
Indeed.
Yeah, doing all the things.
31 years.
Doing all the things that frontline workers need to do, and risking his life to help others. And you're kind of. I can't say this out loud. But you're kind of one of my heroes, but I can't really say that on the air. Like I can't have anybody else find out that's actually that's even a possibility.
Boy.
Oh boy is right. Hey, have you guys heard about this here COVID thing?
Rumors had it there's something around the last couple of years. I don't know much about it though.
Yeah, apparently it's been sweeping the nation, sweeping the world, and now at the end of it, or now 2 years later, I don't know if we're at the end of it. Doesn't really matter. There's been a whole lot of problems with people getting parts, especially like computer parts.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And I thought to myself, Lionel, I says, you know who we haven't talked to? I was actually in the Southern studio catching up. And I was thinking, you know who we haven't talked to for the longest time is our buddy over there at NCE. That Jim guy over at NCE, you know?
Now, can I ask a question before we talk to him? Has he paid his invoices yet?
Well, that's one of the reasons.
That'd be like the first question out. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I think he thought because of COVID, he didn't have to.
Well.
So anyway, tonight we're going to speak to our buddy Jim Scorse from NCE because I'm sure we got lots of interesting questions. I know I do. I want to get the.
We'll come up with one or two, right?
Yeah, I want to get the down low on. I should have put that. I should have put it on the fans page. Well, I bet you if I put it on the fans page right now before we're done talking to him, somebody will.
You'll get some questions, and as soon as the Wednesday night chat is going as recorded, there may be some input from the chat room.
Yeah,
better lock the door though.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
But that is on another network, so I don't think we need to worry too much about it.
Jim, can you come in from the green room? Jim?
Yep. Oh, here I am. Okay. Well, wait a minute. I stepped in something.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
You would be surprised if you didn't.
Yeah. It'd be more of a shock if you didn't step in something.
Was it hard or squishy?
Slippery.
You stepped there. Yeah. You might want to get new footwear after.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jim, have you heard about this COVID thing?
Yeah, I have. As a matter of fact, there was something on the news about it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and apparently it's affected companies. Like, what is it you make again? You make the best DCC system on the entire planet. That's got to be a huge responsibility.
It is. Well, we cover 2 planets now, so yeah, it's.
Do you?
Well, we're trying to.
Okay.
About as successfully as Elon Musk, but we're getting
there. So what's news, Jim? We haven't talked to you for a dog's age.
Just hanging in there. We're doing the work. I spend most of my time now hunting down parts that are hard to find.
Yeah, I would imagine so. What was the first thing that happened after the whole COVID thing? Think back now to March 18th of 2020. That was my day for starting. When did it start for you, Bruce?
Yeah, about that time.
Yeah, because that was the day I said
we got back from Springfield, and then there was some rumbling shortly after that, and then everything just kind of came to a screeching halt, and nobody knew what was going on. But my company was deemed a essential business, so life more or less carried on for us. But then have to deal with all the regulations and requirements of our clients who were municipal people. It was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I was standing in the living room of the Southern studio, and I went watching how the NBA canceled their games, and I thought, I should probably be in my home country.
Yeah.
Let's get the hell out of here. Just in case. And I never seen so many Canadian cars going north on one day. It was like talk about an exodus. They actually Florida raised in the water level by 1.5 feet. It went up about, there's the standard water line for the winter. And then because on March 18th, 19th, so many people left, the water line it actually raised in the water. I thought that was pretty. I just thought of that. Come on.
That's good.
It was like isostatic rebound from the glaciers.
There you go. Okay, Jim, what was the first thing that made you kind of go, this is going to be really difficult owning NCE?
Well, it started with watching the news and hearing that they were going to shut down all the businesses. So I heard it was coming, and everybody had heard it was coming for several days before they actually did.
Right.
But as it turns out, in New York, we under a loophole, we're considered an essential business because we work with microelectronics. And they didn't distinguish between model railroad equipment and pacemakers.
Bonus. Yeah.
Totally. So how's the NCE pacemaker business going?
Yeah.
It's a little slow at the moment. We haven't really come out with a product yet. We're working on it. We promise.
Yeah. But you were essential because you were providing stuff for model railroads that were stuck in their houses.
Well, yeah. I mean, for the lockdown, we provided a lot of essential things.
Well, yeah, no kidding. But how quickly did you start realizing that it's going to be hard? What was the first thing you were like, I can't get that anymore? Was it a month later? Was it 2 months later?
It started, let's say, about a year later, March of last year. I went to we use a bunch of different distributors and for parts. And I went to one of them, and I noticed the part we used quite a few of, and it's in the electronics industry. It's what we call a jelly bean part. Everybody uses thousands of them, and there's a dozen different manufacturers. And I noticed there was only one manufacturer's product, the most expensive one, available. I bought it, didn't think much of it, and I put in an order for some chips from the manufacturer of the chips. We buy directly from some manufacturers. And I got back a reply because for some reason their online ordering system said, call for delivery. Well, or email. I emailed. And they gave me a delivery date of 2022 back in 2021. And I thought that was odd because their delivery is generally 6 to 8 weeks after we place an order. And since then, it's just gotten worse. We're working around it. Orders I placed maybe last June, and they were promised delivery for November, have been pushed out to February of 2023 for a number of parts. But we're finding them here and there. I've one distributor we used was limiting you to 50 pieces per order of this one specific chip we use.
So what do you do? Order them and hang up and call them right back?
Well, they have a blanket charge for shipping of $6.99 for everything we order. So I placed 6 or 7 orders a day for one other item, and 50 of this particular chip. And so now we have about 3,000 of them, which will last us maybe 2 months for the product they're used on.
Wow.
But it's becoming just that kind of game playing, trying to find parts. Talking to a couple of other manufacturers in our business, it's the same story. You're just looking everywhere for 150 here, 45 there, whatever you can get your hands on.
Has the price gone up on this stuff? Like, have the manufacturers realized they kind of got you by the...
We're seeing on products for delivery in 2024, we're seeing probably a 20% price increase.
Wow, you have products that are like ordered that far out, 2024?
Well, if you want them in the same product in 2023, it'll be about double what you pay.
Right.
And if you want them this year, figure 5 to 6 times the normal cost.
I just got a new air conditioner, and there was a foul up at the head office of the air conditioning place, and I had placed the order last fall in November or October of 2021, but they got their paperwork all screwed up. So then they came back and said, well, we can't find that order, but we need to tell you that the cost of the air conditioner has gone up 30%. And I'm like, okay.
That's a little shock to the checkbook.
But and it's like, and why not? And the guy's just going, you can't get them. You can't get them. The company that makes them can't get the parts. They can't get them. Yada yada yada. It just goes on and on and on. It's just endless. So has it been hard to sell? Like, have you run out of product at all?
Right now, what we're doing is when we get enough parts together to do a decent sized production run of a particular product, then we manufacture that. But there's, probably 15, 20 products that we're out of at any one time.
How many products?
We have about 200 products in our catalog.
Holy mackerel. Look at that.
And probably 10% of all of our stuff we're out of, maybe even more. But the problem is some of the more popular things we're out of more often.
Right. Look at that. I already got a question there, Bruce.
Excellent.
You were right. Philip Taylor wants to know, how about the new Wi-Fi throttle and wireless network? Is there a new Wi-Fi throttle?
Maybe someday if we could ever get parts for them.
So radio yes, sort of, kind of, maybe.
Any radio stuff is way out there.
Radio stuff is way out there?
Yeah.
Because just, again, it's just this general lack of parts.
General demand. Everybody wants everything connected with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so...
What do you? So that had already started, I'm guessing, before the COVID thing. Like, I mean, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi had become popular, and then, so I mean, there was already a high demand for that stuff, and this just kind of exacerbated the whole situation, I'm guessing.
Right. Well, the whole electronic supply chain is pretty fragile because they work on either 6-month or 1 year's schedules. They planning their products out. For example, Intel will say, we're going to need 2 million of this particular chip and for the coming year. And they'll make, they'll plan in their schedule because their fabs where they make the chips, they run 24/7, 7 days a week.
Right.
365 days a year. They never shut down. And their schedules are planned really tightly. And so if they plan to make 2 million chips, but all of a sudden the demand goes up to 3 million, they're not going to be able to squeeze in an extra million. They might get an extra 100,000, but they'll never squeeze in an extra million in their production schedule.
And is that about how many NCE throttles you sell a year? Is about 1 million?
Roughly half of that.
Yeah. Have you no? You were going to say something?
I just got a question. For those of us who kind of have a general understanding, we know that car makers, everybody relying on chips has been killed. But what is the real reason that all of a sudden there's a big lack of chips? Is because the manufacturers in China don't have the employees? Were they concentrating on something else? What causes big giant kerfuffle in the electronics world?
Well, they plan, as I said, they plan probably about a year in advance their production schedules. And if something happens to change that, like everybody gets locked down and wants to buy, another PlayStation or wants to get a brand new smartphone when they normally buy one every 3 years, they decide they want to buy a new one because they can, and they get a new toy. It was almost like a perfect storm of things. The auto manufacturers going from like 6 or 7 microcontrollers in a car up to 30 or 40, just over the course of a couple of years. That rather increased demand on the production capabilities. The lockdown really increased demand. People were buying electronic toys like mad.
Because they're bored.
So, and these guys weren't prepared. They didn't have it in their production schedule to meet the demand.
So now, going forward, will NCE plan around worldwide pandemics?
No. Although I have, we try to keep a 3 to 4 month supply of most things on hand.
And are you anywhere near that right now?
No.
Yeah.
We're pretty much week to week. Oh boy, we got 1,000 of this. Let's build let's build D13 decoders. We just got the chips for them, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Philip Taylor also, I was going to ask you a question. Don't tell me what it was. Oh yeah. Long story short, but back in those fall of, speaking of cars, what year is it now? It's today is
2022.
Actually, while we're doing this, right at this exact moment, our buddy, the president of the National Model Railroad Association, Gordy, is talking to a group of people at Indy Junction.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and Tracy, the official flight attendant of the AML network, is there.
Yes,
she sent me a picture of him holding court. So apparently, him and our buddy Jordan Kramer and Tracy, they all went out layout viewing today. And what he kind of expected was that Tracy and Jordan had to go into each home ahead of time and announce, like play Hail to
the Chief or something like that.
Yeah, Hail to the Chief and announce.
I would imagine Jordan would have gone in with a set of pipes and piped him in.
Yeah. Or a trumpet. Ladies and gentlemen, the president of the NMRA.
Now I'm thinking of Mr. Messenger off of Mrs. Fowle's Tiny Town from SCTV.
Oh,
John
boy.
But we digress.
We have digressed. I apologize for that, Jim. Dan Cohen, here's a guy. Dan Cohen says, it's not a question, it's a comment. Please thank Jim for the spectacular service. No hassle. They just wanted to make it right. Thank you so much, Jim. So I guess Dan had some sort of a problem with one of his pieces of equipment, and you guys just fixed it right away.
Yeah, that's actually one of my rules at the company. I said, if we have a customer that goes out and spends, $500 or $1,000 on our stuff, he deserves a little, some decent service, and he should expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how long when did you start the company again? One of my favorite all-time stories is you were at a clinic in Philadelphia and somebody was talking about DCC and you didn't even stay it was a national convention, the National Convention in Philadelphia, which was like Valley Forge, like 92 or something, wasn't it?
93.
93. Oh man, I was only 1 year off. So it was like 25 years ago. And you were at the clinic. Do you remember who was doing the clinic?
It was Stan Ames and 3 or 4 other people. The NMRA was looking to they were asking for suggestions and white papers on an NMRA standard for command control. And I had originally gone to the Valley Forge Convention, number 1, because I wanted to attend. But number 2, it was to meet with Bob Keller. Remember Keller Engineering, his command control system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had some fundamental flaws, which I managed to solve a couple of. And I thought I would, on a kind of a hobby basis, just manufacture his receivers that worked with his system that solve this problem, and I wanted to share the problem with him. And he really liked the idea of a second source because apparently he already knew about the NMRA asking for new command control system so they could make a standard. And he thought the idea of two people making the same thing was a really good idea. Safety in numbers for the customers.
Right.
So I went there to shake hands with Bob and to, basically talk with him and seal the deal. And I was walking by a clinic room and I saw, I believe it was Stan Ames handing out papers about a clinic about this, looking for a standard. And so I decided to sit in on the clinic. I looked through the documentation, and the one that seemed to come to the surface was a system developed by Lens, which is what we have now for DCC.
Mm.
Pretty much the consensus was to adopt that system at that clinic and move forward. And I read through the technical information. I sat there and I can't remember. I was sharing a room with somebody, Gary Siegel, I think. He's real nice Louisville and Nashville layout out in the Santa Barbara area. Beautiful layout. I've been to see it. And I told Gary, I said, look, I have to go home. I'm going to go home and work on this right now. And I did. I left the convention. It was probably a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. And came home, immediately called some of the electronics reps to get some samples of parts. And that was maybe in August. And by the end of September, I had a kind of a working decoder that would work to the proposed standard. And from then on, it was just history. I just kept going on it.
Right. And so you left at night, like this clinic was going on at night, and you left that night?
It was going on in the afternoon, but I left at probably about 9:00 at night.
Mm. And how far?
Philadelphia's 5.5 hours from home. So
you drove home that night from Philadelphia because you were that excited about the possibility of what the future held.
To me, it was looking at the technical merits of the system. I said, it's not even close. I mean, it's so far ahead of the Keller system that I gave up on the Keller system on the way home, mentally.
Right.
And said, I'm just going to work on this thing.
That's like John Daly when he won the PGA championship. Like he was like the 10th alternate, and they called him in like at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock the night before and said, if you can get here. And it was a 10-hour drive, and he drove all night and won the PGA championship in like 1994 or something. So I'm a little, so it was DCC that had sort of been discovered, and that they were looking for a standard for DCC.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you jumped on, you saw an opportunity, and away you went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a guy named Bernd Lenz was offering it. He had a patent on it that was it wouldn't affect the U.S. very much, but he said the NMRA he would waive the rights to that particular part of the patent.
Wow!
If the NMRA chose it as a system, and he was offering it up, and it was very generous of him, actually.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
Yeah.
And Chris Stilson says, thanks for making a great product. Oh, Chris Stilson wants, actually, his question is, what excites you about the hobby?
I like operating sessions.
Yeah, you have a ton of operating, so let's remind everybody that NCE, wasn't it originally at some point you were going to call it North Coast Engineering?
We started out when it was a company as North Coast Engineering. And that was maybe from 90. I started the company officially in 93 in December. And so it was probably until 96. And then we incorporated. And in New York State, you can't have the name engineering in a corporation name, some technical reason.
That's probably to do with professional engineering, and professional engineers get very antsy if the term engineering is throwing about in a non-professional engineering sense of the
right.
word.
If it has engineering in the name, you have to be an LLC.
Or you have to be a professional registered engineer or an engineering certificate to practice engineering.
No. Well, to practice engineering, yes. But to have a company, it's just they don't allow it in a corporation name or an incorporation name, which is the same thing. but it can be a partnership.
Don't make the mail boy mad about engineering, because he's very protective of it. And actually, I agree with you, Bruce, because
if you get a PE after your name, you deserve
exactly.
Yeah, you do. And it's to get off topic a bit, it's done to protect the public from people out there who throw themselves out as an engineer when they're not. As engineers have a strict set of requirements they have to meet to practice in the number of engineering fields they are. And if you earn that registration and recognition, then you can call yourself an engineer. And the guy selling apples out of his Apple cart is not Apple Engineering Limited, because he's just selling apples type thing. But he's not providing an engineering service to the public.
Uh-oh. I started a company, and it's called Strang Podcast Engineering.
You're in trouble now.
Yeah.
The professional engineers of Ontario will be all over you if you try to register in Ontario.
What was the question? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get back to NCE that's the company name, and it's located for all intents and purposes in Rochester, New York. And for those that don't know, for those of you around the world would like to know where Rochester, New York is, there's Buffalo, New York, worst winter weather on the planet, worst snowfalls on the planet. There's Buffalo, New York, and then you go along about an hour or so, and there's Rochester, and you'd keep going if you wanted to go to New York City. So it's it's at the top of the United States, right beside Lake Ontario. So it's right at the very top of the United States. And NCE is actually in a small town right beside Rochester called Webster Springs, New York.
Oh, Webster, New
York.
Webster
close.
Springs is actually a New York town too, but it's down near New York City.
I think there's actually a Webster Springs in West Virginia too.
Isn't that where that high bridge is?
Yeah, I think probably it's not as popular as Springfield, but I bet you there's a lot of Webster Springs throughout the lower 48. What's the population of Webster, New York?
I think 56,000.
What's the population of the greater Rochester area?
A little over 1 million.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Rochester is like one of the coolest towns on the planet. It is like a big city that was never a big city and plopped in a place that there was no reason to have a big city.
Yeah.
It is. And it's got all this because it was the home of Kodak. It was the home of the copier company.
Xerox.
Xerox.
Bausch and Lomb.
Xerox.
Yeah, Bausch and Lomb was in there.
What's that?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Was IBM in there? Or was IBM somewhere else?
IBM had an office there. But Bausch and Lomb, Kodak, Xerox, those were the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big engineering city.
Yeah. And
a lot of electronics companies now that Kodak is gone.
Yeah. What happened to all the property that Kodak had?
It's still there. They've knocked down 200 or more buildings at this point.
Holy mackerel! Was there anybody in it? Was there anybody in them?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of startup companies, and
no, I mean, was there anybody in the buildings when they knocked them down?
I don't know. I didn't hear any screaming, but then again, I'm not that close. They've turned part of Kodak into a big Amazon distribution center.
Of course. Yeah, so you do a ton of operating. You have your own O-scale layout, which is beautiful, which I've seen. But you're is model railroading pretty active in that area where you're at, isn't it?
I would say it's pretty active. Yeah. I have a Tuesday night round robin group. We due to COVID, they haven't been meeting very often, but we still have fairly regular operating sessions around town.
How many?
4 or 5 different layouts that operate. Yeah,
we can't forget to mention it's also the home of Otto Vondrack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The editor of
Royal... coincidentally has a question that's popped up.
Oh, has he?
He has.
You can always count on
Otto Vondrack of Rochester, New York writes in. Maybe ask him about his recent factory expansion. Tell him a certain magazine would love to have a tour to do a story about it.
Do you think we could arrange that like right now? Like I could ask you on behalf of the AML network and Railroad Model Craftsman, we could organize a tour for Otto Vondrak?
Well, let's look at our schedule here of a tour. Let me pull up the tour schedule.
check
If
and see if there's
Otto can be there by 1 o'clock this morning.
Okay, category. Let's see, category Model Railroad Magazine tour schedule. Okay. I believe we have a time open for him. Yeah, we could find something. We can move some things around.
Well, we'll slot. He says he'll slot. I'll put in. He says he'll slot you in.
Yeah, probably about Friday at 11. Is that good?
Yeah.
Well, and of course, the question after that is, which of the numerous hot dog vendors will you go to for lunch after the tour?
Oh, well, of course we'll go to Dogtown.
I actually don't.
Dogtown,
I
there you
don't
go.
spend enough time in Rochester. I got to spend more time in Rochester. I happen to enjoy Interstate 90 through Rochester because it seems a little quicker there. People seem
You're
to be in a
sick
hurry.
man.
People seem to be in a hurry going past Rochester.
A lot of speeding tickets.
A lot of state troopers. Okay. So yeah, let's not blow past the operating. So what excites you about the hobby? Chris Stilson asked. And operations is what excites you about the hobby. How's your layout going on long? Is it to a point where you can have operating sessions?
The entire layout operates. It works, but I haven't been doing any work on it to speak of in the last 3 or 4 years, just because work has taken over. It's we're backlogged. Even before COVID, we were backlogged about 2 months. Now we're backlogged over a year.
Okay, so is this hobby just growing like absolutely crazy? Is that? Do you get that sense?
I do. I get the sense that it's changed.
Okay, I'm interested.
And I think a number of people have said it before, but we're getting out of the craftsman era, and more into the ready to run. But people are now building layouts instead of building models.
Okay, you think more people are building layouts instead of models? Interesting.
Right. There's still,
No,
there's a lot of beautiful model work going on, but it's not nearly in the quantity that it used to be.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a factor that these days people have more disposable income to throw at the at their particular hobby, be it golf, model airplanes, model boats, model making, model railroading, whatever, and that these guys want to get a layout going and up and running so they can enjoy it. So they're ready to run. You look at the prices of some of these locomotives are out there now with sound and DCC, for $300-400. How can you go wrong? They're super detailed things, and if you have the time, if you have the money, you can get a good layout up and running and enjoy it that much quicker than having to handcraft everything. So a lot of the old guys, they're not building everything out of cereal boxes and old coffee cans anymore. The hobby's dying. It's no good. Scratch builders are all dead and gone. But no, it's just a different phase that people are finding ways to enjoy the hobby. And to me, are they having fun is the big question. If they are, then fine. Why would it matter to you if they have the wherewithal to go out and buy the stuff rather than sit down and build it? As long as they're enjoying the hobby, if they're getting their pleasure out of acquiring things, getting stuff up and running and enjoying the hobby, that's the big thing.
How about this for a thought? I just had this thought. I'm interested in, not you so much, Kelly, but I'm interested in, I am, of course, interested. Actually, Kelly, I want your opinion first. Is it possible that we're going to see, like we're kind of in a stage now where a lot of people have been exposed to the hobby. They're buying a lot of ready-to-run stuff, great locomotives, super-duper, great NCE systems and pre-made, buildings that are ready to go. But is that going to make the hobby? Because I would imagine a lot of people who get into the hobby that way eventually will get around to, hey, I'd like to try building a kit or scratch building a structure. Does that sound like a feasible direction that we might go? Kelly?
Well, I really think it's the internet and social media that's making it harder for the lone wolf to hide. And so everybody's out there now that normally you wouldn't have contact with or know what they're doing, and they're putting stuff up on the internet, and they're ordering online instead of going to the hobby shop, so more people know what they're getting.
Right. But do you think it'll make more people kind of come back? Like, I got a feeling that the more people that get involved in the hobby, there's a good chance more people, like, I'm getting the itch to build a structure. I don't need one, but I'm just getting the itch to build something. And I think that will happen. Like, I think the more people that get involved in the hobby, it's a good chance it'll kind of circle back to people starting to construct stuff.
I think it's also that it's the old adage. They start out young, they get the bug, and they find girls and cars and the family and everything, and then they always come back. You always come back.
Yeah. What do you think, Bruce? Because I think Kelly's avoiding the answer.
No, I'm not.
No, I think you're right. The people will go ahead and get what they want, and then they realize, well, they'll start looking. Well, maybe there's something I'm missing here. And I used to like building model airplanes as a kid. I used to do that all the time and stuff. And look, like Walters has got kits. There's all sorts of kits I can build here, or some of the Craftsman kits out there. They'll take a look at some of the simple ones, like our friend Ron at Mind Mountain Models. He's got some nice simple Craftsman kits to build. So I think that they get to a point where they're looking around for another challenge within what they already have, and then it's a progression that, okay, I'm going to buy a Walters kits, or I'm going to buy a Mind Mountain Models kits, or any other kit manufacturer out there, and start on some of those and have fun. And then, oh, look, here's something I really want. It's not available as a kit, but I've got plans. Now I've built this kit, so I can kind of work with, wood, styrene, whatever the medium is. And all right, there's a simple scratch build for it. And, I think that, the ready to run will get them going. And then after that, they kind of want to fill in, for lack of a better term.
I agree with the progression. I think there's as an extension to your progression. There's an interesting thought. Yeah. Because we start out model railroading, and a lot of people start out with the sheet of plywood and, kind of a double track oval sort of thing. Then we, read some magazines. Nowadays you go on the internet, you see all this stuff, you get exposed to larger layouts, and you want to have the large railroad empire. And that, when you start maybe doing that in your mid 30s, when you come back to model railroading. And along about when you get to your 50s, maybe 60, you start thinking, I built a couple of those big layouts, but I want something really detailed now. Maybe I'll build a smaller layout, maybe a shelf switching layout that goes around 3 walls instead of 3 walls and 2 peninsulas, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I was.
And then you get into the detail aspects of it. Then you get a little more interested in building structures and kits and.
The hobby just is endless that way. It's like what you just said, because I was operating our buddy Don Iris's, the Average Don. We have this guy. I know you listen to most of the podcasts, Jim, and some of them twice. But I was at the Average Don's. Do you know Don?
Oh yeah.
How do you know Don? I guess
Springfield.
Well, yeah, exactly. And also, he lived in the Northeast for forever.
Rhode Island.
Exactly. I think of him as, we're not holding that against him. I think of him as a Florida guy because he's down there with me. But he's a Northeast guy. But he's got this fantastic 12 by 20 layout. But the other day, a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, whenever this is being broadcast, I was at his place and met his dad, which was awesome. His dad's 88, and it was so much fun to meet his dad. But so then later I was operating on his layout, and I operated in maybe, I don't know, if it was linear, maybe 12 linear feet of this part of this layout. And he had it so detailed. And so, you had the operation was a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun. There was gates to open and flags to move and Freds to take off the train. And you had to spot the cars in a certain part. And I was thinking, I can't imagine anybody. Before, I could have never imagined people having so much fun in such a small space, but it makes perfect sense now. Oh, Otto liked. I put down that you'll slot him in, and Otto liked that. Gave it a thumbs up.
Yes. I see a question from our friend Uncle Dave Abley's in the chat.
Yeah, I see that too. There.
Will there be another radio upgrade soon?
Yes.
Okay, there you go, Dave.
There you go. Question answered.
It's a forced upgrade. The radio chip we used, the particular radio chip we used is gone obsolete, so that required a little redesign. And the new radio will, there'll be, I think, 14 channels, at least in the U.S. and Canada.
Wow.
So we'll have many different frequencies to choose from. It'll be backwards compatible with all the existing stuff, of course.
And
then for Australia, because we're also licensed in Australia and New Zealand, but there's a reduction in radio channels available in those countries just because of the local laws.
so does the current stuff only work on one channel?
Yeah, it works on a single frequency.
And now you're going to have it. So there's 14 channels of it. And do you have to apply for channels or something?
No, it's just the chip we used to use was a single channel chip.
Oh, okay.
Now we have one where you can select the different frequencies you want to use and modulation schemes and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
So
And
Filter bandwidths.
a question: what is the advantage of having access to 14 channels?
Especially it shows. If you got 4 layouts and they're all on the same radio frequency.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All
Who's
right.
got my train? Remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to have that with the club with the somebody coming in with Bluetooth,
Right.
and we had to change the frequency so it wouldn't be affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why he needs a radio upgrade. Why would people need a radio upgrade, or is it just going to make it that much better?
A lot of people just want a newer version if there is one.
Okay, and how
We were just discussing that yesterday, and we actually had a marketing meeting, believe it or not.
Oh,
And we were discussing that yesterday about people. We get a lot of calls about a guy will say, I've got a system that I bought, I bought it in 1995, and does it need an upgrade? And normally our question is, well, we can give you a software upgrade, and I've already got that one, the latest one, okay. But he wants to know if it needs an upgrade, and does it work? Does it do everything you want it to do?
Mm.
Well, yeah. Then you don't need to buy another one.
yeah, like all my NCE stuff. I bet you a lot of my NCE stuff is 20 years old or more. Probably. I don't remember when I wrote that book.
Well, you switched over the mid '90s. So
Did I really? Well,
mid to late '90s, I think. Yeah,
you think so?
I think it was there. Yeah,
yeah, because I remember.
Because I know you had gotten. Well, I moved up here in '95.
Okay.
And the first few, it'd be late '90s, early 2000s that you switched over. Because when I first was coming up to your operating sessions around the old walk around with the selector switches, and then after one of those "Who's Got My Train" episodes and chaos, you took a hiatus, dewired the layout, and put DCC in.
Yeah, I didn't rewire the layout. I unwired the layout. I couldn't believe how much wire I pulled out of the layout when I converted to DCC, and I don't understand why people make DCC so complicated to wire it up, because it's very, very easy. It's 2 wires to the track. That's it. Period. End of sentence. And then, of course, as you get more and more blocks, you need to be a little bit more organized. But in reality, it's 2 wires to the track, and away you go.
Yeah. Now, just getting back to your multiple channels aspect there, Jim. Would that say, let's look at a layout. Somebody's got a monster layout like Macquarie. Would there be advantage to having more than one frequency operating different sections of his layout?
Yeah, it'll reduce what we call the latency. In other words, you push a button and waiting for something to happen. If you had multiple channels, then multiple radios would be talking at once. You could have, for example, 2 radio base stations receiving a bunch of different cabs on 2 different frequencies.
Okay.
You could have channel 1 with 6 cabs on it and channel 2 with 6 cabs on it, for example.
Right.
And that would probably speed things up.
And just like if you have a decent sized layout, I had the layout cut in 2, and I had 2 separate boosters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when can Uncle Dave expect this radio upgrade to be available?
Let me check the time here.
Okay.
Probably end of summerish.
End of summer? Okay, end of summer 2022.
Yeah.
When you get the parts.
We're desperately trying to get the boards assembled. They've been designed for 3 years.
Of course.
But the Matter of fact, they've been redesigned a couple of times in the 3 years just because we keep redesigning it because can't get that part anymore, can't get this part anymore.
Wow.
So we keep designing in new parts, and we're waiting on the actual radio modules that come in. It's an actual little module, little tiny circuit board, about a half an inch by an inch.
And so, how many of those would you order at a time? Don't tell me anything you don't want to tell me. But I mean, I get this.
Well, the standing order right now is 7,000 pieces.
Of course.
Wow.
I just happen to know that because I checked it yesterday.
And so far, you've gotten 3.
Well, no, I've got probably 100 pieces, 150 pieces. We have some testers, guys that test our stuff. And as we come out with working on a new product, we'll get it out to them. It's 5 or 6 guys that are actually, their hobby is kind of testing things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're engineers and they like to pick things apart. And I trust them.
So it's,
I tell them, don't be afraid to, you're not going to insult me if you say this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always say to people about the podcast when I'm talking to them. If there's something they don't like, tell me now, and or forever hold your peace. And
it's better than going 2 years down the road with something that stinks.
Yeah, exactly. And occasionally somebody will say, make a suggestion about a way to improve the podcast, and I'll say, if that's all you're going to do is criticize me, then just leave me alone.
Right.
I don't.
Jeff Brigham has a question.
There's like a million friggin' questions.
There's a bunch here. And
Jeff.
Last time you interviewed him, he's looking at making a new system. Any updates?
We did have a software update last year. It's not a huge one, and it doesn't really affect much. But there's new stuff coming.
Okay.
I'd like to tell them when, and I'd like to tell them what, but I'm holding wait a minute. Let me reach over and actually grab the circuit board. Now I can say I have one in my hand. A new command station.
Can you hold that right up to the camera so you get a good shot of it? Okay, a little closer. Oh, I can't quite make the number on those chips. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So don't forget this part.
Well, that's the important part, yes.
What are we looking at? I'm not looking at it. I wasn't looking at it.
Oh, that's okay. You didn't miss anything. It's
it's
a green thing with a bunch of electronics.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you won't see it anyway because it'll be in a black box.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That looks like a lot of stuff. That looks like a lot of stuff you get from. It's always on a green board. I wonder why. Is there any reason why they're green and not red or brown or blue?
That's the default color. You can get any color you want.
Okay.
For example, the Wi-Fi module that's built for our system, that's on a white circuit board.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So what is that Wi-Fi now? Is that becoming the latest and greatest?
That's if you don't have enough throttles or you just don't want to buy a throttle.
You can
buy a Wi-Fi. This thing, I think it's $69. Not sure what the price is. It's from Wi-Fi Tracks. But then you can use your phone as a throttle.
Right.
Or several phones.
That's a Wi-Fi interface for the NCE system.
Right.
Okay. And then you can use Android Drive or Y throttle or whatever on it.
Right. It takes the place of JMRI.
Okay.
Dave, I said to Dave, I sent him a text that says 14 radio channels coming. He says, great. Not sure exactly what that means, but looking forward to
it. Beautiful. Now, here's a question from Chris Adams, which you kind of hit already.
Did we answer Jeff Brigham's question? Like, what about a new system? So you're thinking of you're not making a new system, right?
Yeah, working on it.
Really?
Yeah. I was just holding the new circuit board in my hand, the new CPU card.
Well, why would you need a new system? Like the NCE system now works so great.
The hardware is updated.
Okay. And what kind of things would have to be? Okay, so now we've established that my system's 20 plus years old. What kind of things would have to be updated for my system to make it because like you say, it works. So do I care?
No, you don't actually.
Okay.
Yeah, just because we have a new piece of hardware out doesn't mean you need to go buy it, and it's not going to make your trains run any better or do anything different.
Right. Okay.
I mean, there's new stuff. For example, that we swapped out the RS-232 interface for USB and things like that.
Of course.
But most people now, if they've got the old system, they've got a cable that makes the conversion anyways.
I wonder why. I'm not an
And there's no reason to go out and buy a new one just because, because it's there.
I wonder why I'm not an electronics guy. So I wonder why I was so excited about switching over to DCC, Bruce. Do you remember that?
I think it came from, we had experienced it somewhere on, of course, this was back in the infancy of it. But I think the straw was, you had the 4 selector switch, the 4 cabs out on the road, that MRC, MRC model rectifier command control 20 system, and it worked well. But somebody throw a switch and lose a train, and I remember the last time before you went to switch, it was just frustration on your part that things were happening that were out of control, and that was right at the time where it seemed like a good thing to go. It seemed a better way to do things, and that's why you made the change. And having experienced it, it was a lot better after that.
Was Kelly operating with us then?
No, it was before Kelly.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't okay.
You can't blame him on that one.
That's right. You can't blame him.
Okay, let's go. So Jeff Brigham. Okay, so all right. So we've established that there's new systems coming out, but they're going to look the same, I hope.
They are.
All right.
I figure if you've got a system and you've got 6 boosters or something, and you want it all to look the same.
Yeah, exactly. I love NCE. So, do you have any idea? Do you have any? I like to ask Tim Wars this question.
That's a beautiful question.
Okay, you ready for it? You know what I'm going to ask. That's getting kind of scary, isn't it? Serious? Don't you think, Bruce? It's getting kind of scary if you know what I'm going to.
Tim's question gets right to the heart of the problem here, I think.
Oh, I wasn't going to. Did Tim write one down?
Tim Wars has a question, yes.
Oh, well, I was going to ask. This is a question I asked Tim Wars.
Oh, okay, that you asked him. Okay, I think you're asking Tim's question. Okay,
yeah, this is a question that I asked Tim Wars. Do you have any sense, Jim, of the impact you've had on the hobby?
Not particularly. I really don't have much idea. I mean, everybody's doing what we're doing anyways.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but NCE is so significant to the hobby.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk to people, it's, the 2 biggest control systems people talk about is NCE and the other one.
Yeah. The other one. But I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's the same with Tim. I just feel like, man, you've done so much for the hobby. It's kind of like, you must be kind of think to yourself, how cool is this that you had an impact on something that you've already loved anyways? Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just thought, I think I pretty much got the same answer as Tim gives me too. He goes, not really.
Yeah.
And
If I were the only one doing this, I'd say, I've had a lot of impact, but I'm not the only one doing it.
No, you're not the only one doing it, but you offer a quality product with quality service and quality. I mean, it's just like everybody knows, and pretty much everybody, when you're having the conversation with somebody, you'll say to them, what kind of operating system do you have? And if they say the other one, they go, well, all the guys around here have that one, so I went with that one. But I really like NCE, blah blah blah. So I mean, it's a constant in the hobby. It's over the last 20 years, it's become a constant in the hobby. So I mean, it must be pretty. I would think, for me, anyways, I'd be very overwhelmed, I think.
Yeah. It is, one thing that's interesting is we have a database. When you buy a system from us, there's a little warranty card inside the front page of the manual. It's perforated. You just rip it off and fill out your name and address so you get notified of, any updates or recalls or whatever. We don't use it for anything else. But it's kind of interesting to look over those warranty cards to see who they're from. And it's kind of eye-opening sometimes to see the names that come across. or the locations. For example, we have 2 warranty registration cards from Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah. I have no idea why, but we do.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we have assorted actors and actresses and musicians that use our stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, like
And, it's interesting because you get their real address, and sometimes they even put their email address down sometimes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can tell us who it is. Nobody's listening.
Oh, nobody's. Yeah, that's true. Not to this one, anyways.
All right, let's go to another question.
And by the way, you may have noticed I said actresses as well.
Yes, I did notice you said that.
Even though officially it probably should be called actors, but
actors, actresses. I wonder. So okay, before we get away from this, because this is my favorite question. This is like the one I beat to death over and over and over. So what your sense is? What is your sense of the growth of the hobby, even before COVID? Like COVID, I feel like it was already on the verge of exploding, and COVID was no more than just throwing gasoline on the fire. Like, is it just kind of like beyond anything you could have ever imagined?
I do think it's grown more than I expected it to, especially over probably the last 7 or 8 years. You see an explosion of models coming out, either shake the box kind of kits. I mean, I'm talking even maybe something like a laser kit with peel and stick.
Right.
'Cause they're not that hard to build.
No.
Matter of fact, you can even color them with Sharpie markers if you want. You don't have to use paint.
Yeah.
I've even seen one brand that comes pre-painted.
Really?
You just peel and stick, put it together, a little bit of dab of white glue here and there on the tabs, and you're done with your model. It's
Wow.
But we're seeing so many of those and so many people, and 3D printing is going to change the hobby, I think, completely.
Yeah.
If there's an SDL 39XYZ with a W truck on it, because there was only one of them,
right?
You're probably going to see that available 3D printed body shell available at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which might just slip over, some Athearn or Lifelike or Atlas body or chassis.
Yeah, and people often refer to this hobby as a niche hobby, and it's like, when I'm talking to podcasting people, and they'll ask me what mine's about, and and I'll say, well, it's about model railroading, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's it fills a niche, and I'm thinking, yeah, it might be a niche now, but you kind of hang on there for a while, because I think the niche part is slowly turning into a gaping hole or something.
Yeah, it's turning into a chasm.
Yeah, turning it into a chasm.
Well, I think also, to go back what I said before, people are building layouts. Not only are they just putting down track, for the Plywood Pacific, but now they're, Woodland Scenics has done wonders for the hobby.
Yeah.
With all their videos and available products, and basically just spread some white glue on a piece of plywood and slap down some ground foam, and you've got some rudimentary scenery.
Yeah, which makes it just that much more interesting again. And I think, is this a thought? Does this thought make any sense to you with the fact that people can connect on social media so much? And like you say, people are building bigger layouts. I think you're right about that. But I also think a lot of people are building smaller layouts as well, like you said, in their later, they go back to that. But is it partly because, with an NCE system and these locomotives that come from the manufacturers, Rapido and Scale Trains and Intermountain and Bowser, is it the fact that these locomotives can do so much? You can program them to do so many things. I mean, I think that makes the hobby even more interesting again.
That is definitely one aspect of it, because it's become now, frankly, DCC's become a hobby within a hobby. But the fact that it does do something right out of the box, you can, you put it on the track, you push the button, say, look, I want locomotive number 62, and you turn your knob and the locomotive goes forward and back, and you push the headlight button and it goes on and off. And, we weren't able to do that 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's why when I was at Uncle Dave's, I operated off my phone and we could run all this stuff. And then when I was at Don Iris's, he uses NCE, and I was playing with all the different. It's just very, very cool. It's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea I have no idea what's going to happen with the hobby, but I know it's going to be pretty cool. It's here's an answer or a question from Chris Adams. It's kind of like a couple of like Jeff Brigham's, but Chris says, any plans to do any significant modifications or upgrades in the future, or best to stand pat and stay with the current thing? Well, this is kind of the question I was just asking. Look at this. It's getting, and he says, FWIW. What does that mean?
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. There's no acronyms here, Chris. You know that. Come on.
Yeah, and I understand what Chris is asking there.
Yeah, it's Fort Worth International Waterway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I haven't finished reading it yet. He says, I don't see any need to change anything. I love their product as it is. I've had my system for 19 years and appreciate the occasional chip upgrades to keep it purring and working well. So is that a question, or is that just a comment?
It's a comment question. He's just wondering, is it maybe do we recommend
right?
Going out and getting the latest and the greatest? And I have no problem with people doing that because that means we sell more things.
Right.
But the thing is like anything tech, my advice is always wait until you need it. If you don't perceive a need for something improved or better or bigger or whatever, wait until you need it, as opposed to just thinking, well, I should go get it because it's new.
Right. So okay, so what?
Because the price will used to say the price always comes down, but it doesn't anymore. Now it just goes up.
Yeah.
But if you wait, you buy the latest computer, 6 months later, it's obsolete.
Yeah, that's for sure. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So for mine, which is basically 20 years old for argument's sake, same as Chris. Like if I wanted to upgrade, would I buy a new booster or would I buy a new command station? What would you buy?
Well, they just put the upgrade chip in it, the new software upgrade, whatever the latest version is, because that automatically upgrades your throttles.
Okay.
And the software in your system, and it worked the same as a brand new one.
And how much would the latest soft grade chip cost?
You got me there.
Okay.
I think they're $25.
Really? That's all?
Yeah.
We're going to be quizzing.
I don't deal with the day-to-day prices.
Okay. Well, we're going to be quizzing you on every product.
And what's involved in putting that chip or software package in?
You take in the main the big metal system that we sell. We have like 7 or 8 different systems now. The metal system, the top of the line system, you undo the 4 screws for the cover and pull the cover off and slide a screwdriver under the chip where we show you to. Pull the old chip out, push the new chip in the socket, and put it back together.
Is there videos or something? Do you have videos or something about that?
No, we have a little diagram.
Could I just put it in a box and send it to you?
You could do that.
All right. And I would bet that if you sent your command station to NCE to have them upgraded, I don't think there's a labor charge. It's just a matter of paying for the postage and sending the box, right?
Normally, we don't normally. For something like that, we would just charge you for the chip and no labor charge.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It takes us 2 minutes. Besides, we'd want to go through it and check out all your other stuff anyways, just make sure it's all working right.
I think I'm going to do that. I think I should do that, Bruce.
So
there you go.
So Jim, since you
just before you get, here's an opportunity for you, Lionel, because there's a certain event coming up in a couple months from when we're doing this interview that is more or less in the Rochester area.
Is there?
Yes.
There is.
Okay. What's happening?
Tom Stock.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, it's about 5.5 hours away.
Yes, but it's kind of in the Rochester, more or less, way on your way there.
Well, it would be. I'd be passing by. Exactly. I could do that. Exactly.
We'll wave as you go by.
Yeah, I'll wave. Yeah, are you coming to Tom Stock?
I don't know. I got an email from Tom just yesterday asking me what my plans were, and I have forgotten what my plans are.
It's been so long since the original request went out.
Well, I can't remember if I paid, and I can't remember where I made hotel reservations.
I don't think anybody's made hotel reservations yet. So just if
Okay, then maybe they're last year's reservations.
yeah,
I
they're
forgot
probably
about.
last year's probably 2-year-old reservations.
Yeah.
And as far as if you're not sure for anybody that's not sure if they've paid, the answer is you haven't.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay by me. I mean, I would pay again anyways because it would be worth it.
Hey, speaking of paying, I wanted to bring this up. Thanks for reminding me.
For the invoices, yeah,
that too. Yeah, we're gonna have to get to that. But you know what, Bruce and Kelly, you know what he's done, and because this gives me an indication that we may be on the right path as far as the invoices go, because twice now since I started my 1 more year thing and my walk and my fund for Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto, twice Jim has very quietly and topped up whatever it was that year we needed to get. 1 year he sent in well over $1,500, and then last year I mentioned offhand that we'd made it to 98,600 or something, and the next thing I know, he's made another huge contribution to the fund. So he's done that twice, and I thank you very much for that, Jim.
Oh, you're welcome. I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, well, I can. I was kind of, everybody was like, oh, you came up $1,500 short or something. I said, well, I wasn't planning on stopping, so next year we'll get over it. But then the next thing I know, there it is, you've topped. So now the hospital is very excited that we've raised $100,000, and I moved up to the next level. I have different people now. I have different handlers now.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it's handlers.
Yeah.
Different
It must be important.
From the foundation, there's different handlers now for, to talk to them.
The old one said, yeah, we had enough of him. Let's move on.
Yeah, now I have 2. Yeah, wow. Before it was, yeah, exactly.
So I had a question.
Okay.
The question is, Jim, since you started the company, the main components of your system have not gone obsolete.
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand certain ones like the radio antenna would change, and I'm assuming there's some things. But if somebody had bought a system like 20 years ago or a little earlier or later, I should say, what they have basically is something that can be upgraded in one way or another.
Right. There's 3 circuit boards in the main system box, and each board, if you buy 2 new ones, for example, and keep the third one as old, they would all plug together and play together. That's kind of my philosophy. I like to keep things always backwards compatible, even though you're adding new stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's very
well,
cool.
You spend a lot of money on this stuff. You expect it to work.
Well, I think that's my point about. I think that's my point about why I'm kind of sticking to my guns about the impact you've had on the hobby. Because the thing that I've noticed as the years have gone by, is like it's just everybody. You always hear people talking. Oh yeah, I had an NCE and something happened, and I sent it to them, and they fixed it right away, or they replaced it right away. I mean, I don't care what you think. As far as I'm concerned, you've had a huge impact on the hobby, and you're going to have to wear that whether you like it or not.
Okay, well, I'll take it.
All right. Here's a question from Tim Worse.
This is a hard-hitting journalistic question as I've ever seen this one.
Yeah.
I want fluff questions.
Well, no. This one is not fluff.
This is a high heater coming right at you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're either going to step back or you're going to lean into this one and knock it out of the park.
I'll try and lean in, but I'm guessing I'm going to be on the ground.
All right. Tim Worse says, I just can't get a decent slice of pizza anymore. Ask him what his thoughts are on that.
I agree. I've noticed that pizzas, it's not the same. It's depending on the type. I mean, everywhere you go now, there's all kinds of types. You can get deep dish pizza, you can get the thin crust pizza and the crispy stuff, and what we call regular pizza. But I seem to remember years ago when you got a pizza and it came loaded. I like it loaded up with everything. Drag it right through the garden, put everything on it, and you get them now, and it's like they're just not the same. They don't taste the same, and they don't have the same texture anymore.
Mm.
Where you had to put your entire hand under the piece because it would fall apart otherwise.
Right.
Well, if you're disappointed with pizza nowadays, you should go to a Toronto Maple Leaf game and order a couple of slices of their stuff.
Ooh, cardboard pizzas?
Yeah.
Can I throw some advice Tim's way? Seeing as he's not all that far, he should make a road trip down to Windsor, best pizza in the world there, and get one of the not the Pizza Hut or Domino's or any of that crap. Get to one of the local Windsor shops that have been around for 30, 40 years and get one of their pizzas. You won't go back.
Or the other thing you could do is go to DeLand, Florida, which is actually DeLand is the county seat for Volusia County. And Volusia County is where the Daytona Speedway is. If you go to Tony's in DeLand, Florida, you won't be disappointed. Get the loaded one. Get the Supreme. Man, that's some mighty fine eating right there.
Now, I do have to say, all of a sudden, I've been able to find good Philly cheesesteaks all over the place.
No.
It seems like all the pizza places have started making Philly cheesesteak as well. I don't know. They're pretty good.
Let's ask Tim Morris. Where do you get a good Philly cheesesteak in Port Dover? I noticed in Port Dover they had the big motorcycle weekend, but as with all Canadian things, they outlawed the motorcycle part. You could go, but you couldn't have your motorcycle on the main street.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a big deal in Port Dover, wasn't it?
It was huge.
It used to be.
It was huge. It was just huge up until this most recent Friday the 13th, when, for safety's sake, we're no longer allowing motorcycles on the main street. Well, then you're no longer having a motorcycle rally. Because that's where you park. Here's a good question from Quentin Webb. Any hobbies outside of model railroading?
I play trivia 2 nights a week.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we're pretty good.
True.
At
We
it.
see you posting quite often.
Yeah, and I also sim race.
Oh, do you? iRacing?
Well, it's Dirt Rally 2.0, but same thing.
Okay.
I'm sitting right next to my race rig, as a matter of fact.
Oh. So I'm a bit of an iRacing guy myself.
Oh, yeah, iRacing's pretty cool.
iRacing's very cool. So what'd you call it?
Well, Dirt Rally 2.0 is just the name of the program.
Okay. So it's is it an online thing where you race against other people online or just against the game?
Like real European rallying, it's one car at a time, but you're racing against other people on the clock.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you run into trees and, all the usual stuff.
Well, yeah. This is the sudden
Well,
stuff.
you at one time were a rally racer, were you not?
Yes, I was.
That's right. Exactly.
It does not give me an unfair advantage, though.
What steering wheel are you using?
I'm using a Logitech G920.
I think that's the one I got. That's not a bad wheel.
No.
I've been thinking of upgrading because I feel like I need to pick up like about a quarter of a second a lap. Like I'm on the Texas Motor Speedway when I'm racing in the trucks. It's just I can finish top 5 usually without too much difficulties. But I just need a little something extra to get that. I just don't have that last little oomph. Let's see, what is it I'm racing? What do I race? In the trucks, there's about 1,000 people in it, and I'm 13th overall in top 5s. So
there you go.
Ooh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I know, but I can't. Top 5s is like, oh, you almost got married, you almost had a baby.
Maybe Fox Sports will put you on their e-racing thing.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's like it would be like having, hey, there's a guy that's almost really good.
And he finished second once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I did win one at Daytona in a gas. I outfoxed them as far as I kept stopping in for gas, and then everybody ran out of gas, and that's how I won that one. But that's
there you go.
Yeah. Let's see. So okay, that's cool. And do you have a seat, or you just have it mounted on a desk, or what?
I have a 3 degrees of freedom motion seat.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was
48-inch monitor with 48-inch diagonal monitor, one of those curved ones,
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I got rid of the 3-monitor system. That was it was distorted.
All right, you will get, and so you just got one. And can you set it up so you can see out the two sides?
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know. I'm not that techie. I'm not like you. I didn't build the NCE company. I just wrote a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't have that many top fives. I'm probably running number 180 or 185 or something out of 45,000.
45.
Oh, you're in a solid top 200. There you go.
Holy mackerel!
Wow.
45,000.
Yeah, there's 200,000 people per week usually competing.
Really?
But in my class, there's about 45,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
And what's your class?
It's called elite class.
Oh, well, excuse me.
It's
yeah. No, here's a question.
It's just a class. There's also one above it, and I don't even know what the name is. It's that exclusive.
Here's a question, because I know if you're a driver for rallying, you get your navigator telling you, 200 left, whatever, giving you all the readings for the, of the course or road, whatever coming up. How does that work in the sim? Have you got somebody talking to you, have you got a map you're looking at, or?
Exactly. As a matter of fact, you have one of the world's best co-drivers speaking right in your ear.
Nice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's it called again?
Dirt Rally 2.0. I'm sending you a link.
Send me a link. Because I need something else to keep me from being productive.
You too.
You need another rabbit hole.
Yeah, I need another rabbit hole.
Let me just see what I've got here.
Not that this has ever happened at my house, but I got serious. I got much more serious about it when they shut us down for COVID again, and I heard it was coming. This was about a year and a half ago. And I said, that's it, I'm done. So it was supposed to come in like 2 days when they were shutting us down. And I went out and I bought a computer. I took my son and I said, I need a good computer for iRacing. I need a screen. I need a wheel. And we went out and spent a fair amount of coin, and it set me up and I said, that's it. Give me something to do. And I can't verify this, but possibly there's been days when that's all I've done.
Well, you're testing and training, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the other guys. They don't just sit around and only show up on Friday night and Saturday. It's you got the testing and training and all that stuff to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Here's another question from a fellow named Terry Roth. Love their products. They do need to update the website. Oh, it's very clunky.
It is.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
So has there been any thoughts about doing that?
There's been discussion almost every 3 or 4 months about doing it. And it just never seems to get done. We're just really busy.
Yeah.
We're really busy.
How many employees do you have?
Just 11.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's always been around the same size.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't.
Yeah, we keep adding more. We keep adding more robotic equipment.
Okay.
But so you were there, I think, a few years ago, right?
I was there, about 5 years ago, when I think you had your first robotic machine.
Yeah.
How many have you got?
Do we have 2 floors in the building at that time?
No.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 floors now.
Okay.
And the whole lower level it's half machines, roughly.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And are they the kind of machines you just kind of turn them on and let them go?
Well, we'd like to think so.
That's the theory behind it, is it?
Yeah, that's the theory. Well, that one person runs 4 or 5 different machines and keeps them going. So,
and
in reality, there's only maybe 2 running at a time, maybe 3.
Do you need a specialized, qualified employee to do that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
Okay, like you had to go out and hire somebody that knew how to run these machines?
Yeah, actually, we require all of our employees that work in the electronics part of the company, not office work, but actually working with electronics, all have to be IPC certified. And if they're running equipment, they have to be trained.
IPC certified?
Yeah, that's just
what's that?
Industry certification for soldering quality, things like that.
Okay. All right.
Being able to, it's a kind of like a minimum level of competence sort of thing.
Oh,
You know, they can identify parts like this is a resistor, this is a capacitor, that's a diode.
okay, let me ask you this question. Is it solder
Mhm.
or solder?
It's solder. It's
Yeah.
solder and
Yeah, in Australia.
yeah.
So Terry Roth goes on to say, 2 times I needed customer service. They were very thorough and made sure I had the problem solved very quickly and in a timely fashion. So there you go.
Well, that's
So-
good. I'm glad to hear that.
So he wants your client. He would suggest he would like to see a better website, but he loves your service and he loves your products. So that's 2 out of 3 is pretty good.
Yeah, we're halfway there.
Yeah, you're halfway there.
That's a good batting average.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think so.
2/3 we're halfway there, right?
Yeah.
Tony Cook has a question.
Oh, another hard-hitting
hard-hitting question.
Holy
We
moly.
don't make decoders for Tycho, Tony,
Oh, they'll be crushed to hear that.
but we do make them for Cadillacs.
Well,
Oh, there you go. There.
so he can run his
1995.
Cadillac with his iPhone then?
Yeah, run his Cadillac with his iPhone. Tony Cook wants to know how many seasons of Mannix were there, and what episode, what era, network it ran on.
Mannix. Does he know that Mannix is my ringtone on my phone?
Oh,
Really?
Oh,
Maybe he does.
Has he been eavesdropping or
He must
something
have.
like that?
Oh.
Mannix is your ringtone.
So the way I'm seeing this, there's 2 possibilities.
It ran
Tony
for 8
knew-
year on CBS, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a trivia question
Tony,
just about 2
Tony
months
either
ago.
knew that Jim knew this, or Tony's trying to be a smartass. And
Yeah,
Thought he'd get away with it.
I think he has a secret camera somewhere.
yeah.
There you go.
Tony trying to be a smartass. There's an original.
Yeah. Tell him Mannix ran. I believe it was for 8 years, and I know it was on CBS.
And it had 194 episodes.
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, okay, but I'm filling you in. It was a single camera setup, and it was Desilu Productions from 67 to 68 for 1 season. Then Paramount picked it up, and it was made at Paramount Television for seasons, the next 7 seasons. There you go.
His secretary, I know, is Gail somebody.
Fisher.
Well, you must be looking this up.
No, I knew all this stuff.
Dude, Lionel knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
He's an encyclopedia of knowledge. In that
Yeah,
big green
exactly. That's me, an encyclopedia of knowledge. Yeah. Let's see.
Encyclopedia of something.
Yeah, exactly. Encyclopedia of something. I think it pronounces Loki, Lolke. I've spoken to him. We've spoken on the chat, the Wednesday night chat, which is happening right now because we're not there because we're doing this. I could never pronounce his last name in a million years. Bijlsma.
Probably like Bildsma, something like that.
Yeah, it is something like that.
Sounds Finnish.
That's
Yeah, it
what I'm
does.
thinking.
Anyways, kind of the same question as Jeff Brigham. In your last interview, he's talking about a new system or an upgraded system. It would be interesting to know what's going on there. But I think we kind of already answered that question.
Yeah.
Would it not be fair to say there's always a new system coming from NCE?
Yeah, well, we're always updating something.
Yeah.
Let me think about how many different systems we make.
Yeah, there you go.
1, 2, 3, 4. 5. We make 5 different DCC systems.
Really? Why do you make 5 different ones?
Well, for different reasons. The 2 big ones we sell are what we call our 5 amp system,
Right.
which is the one in the metal box.
Right. That's the one I have.
Right. And then we have a power cab,
Yeah.
which is kind of like the entry level, which we sell lots and lots and lots of those. Thousands every year, thousands.
Yeah.
Like
And
10,000 a year.
10,000 a year. I think that's the one. Is that the one where it's basically in the handheld throttle?
Yeah, everything's in the throttle.
How do you do that? How do you make an DCC system right in one of those handheld throttles?
It came to me one day.
I'm sure it did. But how do you pack?
Did you have to drive home in the middle of the night to get it going?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I had to. I had to think about it. I was just thinking about. I wanted a real low-cost entry-level system, but it had to do everything the big system did, almost everything. And I thought about it, and I said, the most expensive part of the system at the time, because of the tooling costs, was the handheld throttle.
Wow.
And I said, the chassis, why? Then I have to add a chassis to it of some sort, or a plastic box, something to put all the rest of the electronics in. I said, well, let's just put it all in the one box. And I did.
So it's all in the handheld throttle.
Yeah.
How does it fit in there? Like, okay, like me,
it's surprisingly compact, but you have any engineer looks at it and he says, oh yeah, that's doable. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Now, would that also be help with the advances in chip technology, making boards and chips smaller and smaller?
Kind of. It's advances in what they call MOSFET technology, what they call the on-resistance of MOSFETs. You can get it's a transistor, very powerful transistors in small packages now. Or for the last, I don't know how long, we've been making the power cab since, 2006, I think. So what is that, 16 years? And it's gone up in power. It started out as 1 amp, and now we're up to 2.5 amps.
Really?
And yeah, we can't go any farther. The parts can go farther, but the interconnect cable, believe it or not, the limitation is the connector that the cable plugs into. It's only rated for a certain amount of power, and you can't buy one that'll handle more power.
So does the power cab? Well, how many trains can you run with a power cab?
Well, if you have a computer interface hooked up, probably about 40.
Really?
Yeah. But normally it'll take 5 extra throttles, I lied, for a total of 6 operators. And then you can still plug in other stuff like a computer interface and things like that for even more, or radio.
How do you sleep?
Or a Wi-Fi interface.
How do you sleep? Does it feel like your head's going to explode or something? Because you have all this information in there?
Well, not really. Other reasons it may explode, but not the technical part.
Maybe that's how that's how the hobby's going to explode, and we're all going to be covered in model railroad goo. It's all inside Jim's head,
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly when it explodes. I'll tell you. Remember when Lucy pulls the football away from Charlie Brown, and he falls on the ground. And
right.
His little thought balloon there is just nothing but like a pile of sticks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what my brain looks like.
I've been wanting to say this since I was thanking you for your generous help with the One More Year Fund. And I remember at the time, and I thought this would be funny. I'm going to say it now before I forget, because I don't want to forget before the show's over, because the network only allows us so much time. Did you get your T-shirt yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm just looking around the basement here, trying to figure out where it's hanging.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I got it. I've got 2 or 3 AML shirts, and
you didn't get
a One More Year shirt from somewhere.
Oh,
Did Barb send it to me?
Yeah, maybe you didn't get the most recent one, the gray one, though. I think I still owe you one.
I got that's green. I think.
Yeah, just say that I owe you one, because I feel better.
You owe me one.
Yeah, I always feel better when I owe people shirts.
Yeah,
That's going to be my. I think it's going to be my purgatory. Is I just will be locked in this room and I'll be mailing out T-shirts. every time I think I'm going to be caught up, so a piece of paper will come floating in, and there'll be another 12 to send out.
There you go.
I hate packing stuff and sending it.
Me too. Although I'm actually not that far behind now, because I came up with a pretty slick system. I realized what my problem was, is I would independently package and send out one T-shirt. So I would go, okay, I need to send a T-shirt to Jim or to Kelly. I need to send 2 T-shirts to Kelly. So then I would find the T-shirts and all the swag that I would throw in with it. I'd pack it up. I'd address it. Boom. And I'd finish that one. And then I realized, if I address all the bags first and put on what I need to put in, It'll be like just make it a little bit more organized.
You got your pick order for
yeah, exactly.
Going into the massive AML T-shirt warehouse.
Yeah, exactly, and of course, being organized, it goes so much against my personality that it kind of threw me off. I didn't know that
Did you have to take extended time off?
Yeah, I did, and I played iRacing.
Well, he does that to practice for driving the forklift around the T-shirt warehouse.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
That's it.
Let's see. I didn't realize the Industrial Light and Magic Company was the company that George Lucas owned. The production that made Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think I saw R2-D2 using an NCE power cab.
I don't know if his thumb would reach the but he could use the buttons.
Or it might have been stuck in one of the Star Destroyers or the Death Star. It might have been
maybe that's how they controlled
the throttle was stuck in it or something.
Maybe that's how they controlled the Death Star.
That's how they blew up the Death Star. Yeah.
With an NCE throttle.
No.
So okay, what are the layouts you're operating on right now? Yours, but
there's mine. There's a nice HO layout of the Florida East Coast, just down the road from me, owned by Daryl Rathbun. It's a beautiful layout, double deck, full basement of a ranch house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's. I'd like to say it's probably 90% scenic at this point.
What was his last name? Rathbone?
Rathbun, B-U-N.
Rathbun.
Yeah. I got to get Otto out to see that layout because he'll probably want to do an article on it at some point.
Otto, you got to go out and see Daryl Rathbun's Florida East Coast layout. I'm going to see if I can.
And then there's Ron Stacy. We use his layout in some of our ads, photographs of it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Rondamont in Southern or something. I forget the name now. Ned Spiller's layout. He's a little farther south of the city. He's about an hour south. And Gary Patterson's layout. That's a 3-rail layout. O-scale or O-gauge 3-rail layout. It's a lot of fun to operate, actually. It's set up for operation. We have a lot of fun with it.
Cool. There's a couple of guys I found online. A couple of guys, young guys in their 30s that are into 3-rail, have huge 3-rail layouts.
Mm-hmm. More and more, I'm thinking that's after years of being kind of 2-rail exclusive, that mentality.
Yeah.
I've decided that 3-rail it's really valid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You can have more fun, I think, with it.
Yeah, it's just as valid as scale. Oh, yeah. There's
different type of modeling typically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think to me, I think anything that's model railroading, any kind of scale railroading, is model railroading. Whether it doesn't have to be slotted into that's 3-rail. I mean, these two young guys are having a ball with their 3-rail stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we've operated on a 3-rail layout a couple times with the Southeast Michigan ops years ago.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I did. You insist that I did, but I don't think I did. But maybe I did. I'll take your word for it. How about that?
I know there's a guy making YouTube videos now that's 3-rail. I don't know, the King of O-scale or something like that. I don't know what he calls himself. I forget.
The King of O-scale.
Yeah. But it's very interesting, the stuff he does. And, he's got a nice looking layout.
Who is somebody? There's a guy just had an article in Model Railroad about, and he has a 3-rail layout, and I can't remember who it is. A Western Maryland 3-rail layout.
I would venture to guess that there are more 3-rails fully scenic layouts than there are any other scale.
Yeah, you probably could be very right about that. Yeah. It's still railroading. What's the magic of model railroading? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, it grabs you. I mean, when you think back to that, I mean, like most of us, you probably were exposed to it very young, 3, 4, 5 years old, and probably a Lionel set under the tree or something. And I don't know what it is, just watching the train go around. It was.
Yeah, I know. There's something about it.
It's relaxing. It's fun. It's
very Shane Murphy, the Cosmic Cowboy. We got to interview him again, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
We have got to catch up with him again. He wants to know if you put beans in your chili.
Yes, I do. I admit it.
Okay. And Blair Koistra wants to know.
But I do like Texas chili as well.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm on the fence here with both those.
Is the garbage plate, is that unique to Rochester?
That's what we're famous for.
Really? Have you ever heard?
You've had one.
Oh, have I ever? It was great. What was the name of that place?
Dogtown.
Dogtown. Well, okay, that's Dogtown. Man, that was a great place. Oh, that was a great restaurant. Talk about busy. Oh, my God. And so Kelly, they have this thing. It's called the garbage plate.
Mm.
And it looks like a big pile of stuff.
It looks like an emoji.
Yeah, it looks like an emoji.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's very tasty. Blair Koister wants to know who does your hair. Now the people are just getting silly. Thanks a lot, Tony.
Lilia does my hair.
Who does?
Lilia.
Yeah.
She's a Russian immigrant. She might be Ukrainian. I don't know.
Yeah.
She works over at Al's Barbershop.
Okay.
And by the way, there's a cribbage board in Al's Barbershop.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't get to play, but
I miss my barbershop. I can't believe he closed after 50 years, I think it was. I can't believe he just closed one day.
there may have been a reason for that.
Strang boy. That Strang boy kept coming here.
Yeah, Strang boy. After 40 years, he just couldn't take it anymore.
Couldn't make any money.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Well, I figured that out. I went to him for 40 years, getting my hair cut.
Wow.
41, 42 years.
Wow.
And we had a lot of goings on in that place in Floyd's. Okay, what else do we need to know? I think that's it. Have we covered everything, men?
I believe so.
Yeah. I owe him a T-shirt, but I'll always owe everybody a T-shirt, so that's good. I'm very, 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 very appreciative of what you've done. However, that doesn't mean I won't ask you again this year.
Okay. Feel free to ask.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll have to do this again because I want to stay up to date on. We waited too long to do this. We should do this more often because NCE is a significant part of the hobby. Whether you like it or not, NCE is a significant part of the hobby.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Cool.
Absolutely is. So, and you got to get working on that website. That would be a huge job, though, to build a new website.
Well, our customer service guy is responsible for website. We'll loosely call it maintenance.
Yeah. Well, Ed's been there for a long time now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's not the new guy anymore, but he's been with us 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the old new guy.
Yeah, Bobby is our new guy. He hasn't even been with us a year yet. He's brand new.
Oh, you're breaking him in. Who's your longest term employee?
Chris, she's employee number 1. On July 17th, she'll be with me 25 years.
There you go.
Wow.
Salute.
Yeah, salute. So she was the first employee you had.
She's the first official employee. Tara, my office manager, has actually been working for me for 26 years.
Okay.
Since she was in high school.
Wow.
Well, her father and I worked together in another life in a large electronics company, but she was about 16 years old. She knew how to solder, and I used to kit up parts and take them over to her, and she would build after-school circuit boards on their kitchen table.
Wow.
Wow. Cool.
And she would assemble them and then give them back to me, and I'd pay her. And so now she's my office manager.
So how long?
Basically the boss.
And basically the boss. Yeah, exactly. I know how that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I work with it. You know how that goes too, right?
Yeah. I knew I'd lost all control when she started opening my mail.
Yeah.
I have in the back of my head this nefarious scheme to send myself something that she would really rather not have opened.
Oh,
That might put a damper on it, but
or order something from somewhere that she didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Just order something that she would really not rather know anything about.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you another question. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, How long was it? How long was it until you took the plunge to become full time? Because you were working in Rochester as an electrical engineer.
I was a product line manager at a large electronics company.
Right.
Had 126 people in our group.
Right.
Well, let's see, it was August of 93 when I decided to do something about DCC. And then it was probably January when I decided, I'm going to start my own company.
Right.
And I couldn't get away until September because every time I went to talk to my boss about leaving, he said, no, you can't do that yet. You got to go here, you got to go there. Because I used to travel about 42 weeks a year, always internationally.
Wow.
A lot of Far East and Mid East and
that must have been tiring.
Just various places and
right.
So finally it came to a head, and I said one August, I said, look, I got to leave because I got to start producing this stuff. It's all designed. I just got to get going on this. And he said, well, you can't leave right now because I'm leaving. And he was starting his own company too. Apparently I planted the seed.
Oh boy.
I haven't heard from him in a few years, but I had to wait a month until they found somebody to replace him. But then I left in September of 94.
So
he went full time the next day.
So had you sold anything up until that point?
Not a thing.
Really?
Wow.
I was actually doing contract electronic design. I wanted to get back into engineering. Management is,
it's management.
They kept shoving me into management. They sent me down to company charm school down in Florida. And when I saw some of the unwritten rules, I decided that it was time to start my own company.
There you go.
And
so how long did it take until you went, this is going to work out after all?
Well, I got a contract, a design contract the very next day. One of the women that worked for me had, worked for me at the other company. Her husband worked for a local company and needed somebody to design a controller for an electronic furnace sort of thing.
Right.
And so I said, I can do that for him. And I went over there and talked to him, and I got the contract that day. And then I talked to, there used to be another contract house locally in town. It was called Rochester Microsystems. And I knew the guy that ran it, and he threw me a couple of bones.
Well, how long was it before you gave up on that stuff and was strictly NCE?
Oh, it was probably 6 months.
Wow. Yeah, well, so quite a while then.
Yeah, well, when I came to the realization that doing contract design, you're really always looking for your next job.
Right.
Because once a contract is up, it's up. You need more money coming in. So you're always marketing, you're handing out business cards, and you're going to trade shows. And, I decided that, you really need products. If you have products, you just have something to fall back on. You design a product, you keep selling it until it no longer sells and replace it with something else.
So what was the first? So was it the main handheld and the command station? Like, how many of those did you make for selling the first time you made them? Because I'm assuming you did it by yourself.
Yeah, I made 100, and all the parts were put on the circuit boards with tweezers. And I didn't have any machinery. There's a whole story about that, how I got into the actual manufacturing. That's for another day.
Okay. We'll ask that on another day.
Yeah.
What did the first one sell for?
$4.99.
And were you?
That was the introductory price. It was supposed to be. It was $5.49 inflated, because I originally intended it to sell for $4.99. So I put it out there for $5.49 and said, introductory special,
right,
$4.99.
And how long did it take? Where did you advertise? Like in Model Railroader or something?
I didn't.
At all?
No. Really? Not for the first couple of years. I the only thing I advertised was decoder kits, because in the early days, decoders were $60, $70, $80, $90 a piece just for the simplest decoder.
Right.
And I could make kits. If you bought a 15-pack, they would be Yeah, do the math really quick. About $17 a piece if you wanted to build them yourself. So that's a big savings. You could get 4 for the price of 1 if you wanted to spend some time with your soldering iron. So I spent a few days writing up a how-to manual on how to put it together with pictures and diagrams and do this, then do that. Kind of like building a Heath kit, if you remember those.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, the manual was modeled on a Heath kit manual. And we sold thousands of those.
Wow.
Well, it was the only thing that was affordable on the market. In those days, even before my system was available, about the only thing you could buy was a Digitrax, what they called a Challenger, which was very much like the first MRC system. 4 trains, 4 knobs, all on one handheld sort of thing for speed. And the lens system, which was, like $700 or $800 at the time. And then the Wangro system came out, which was close to $900.
Jeez. What a story.
Yeah.
What a story. Very much like Tim Morris, where he just, the first one he made out of a very first jig. What do they call them? Fixture.
Fixture, yeah.
It was
Fixtures, they're fixtures, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't ever to get that right.
Call them the original name.
Yeah, exactly. Can't call them jigs or whatever. Hard part will be having a coronary. I wonder if he got his mug yet.
Oh, there's another whole story.
All right. Well, let's call it a day. What's that?
Did he wash his car? That's
that's all he ever does is wash his car. Okay,
The
let's
question is not did he wash car, which car did he wash?
Which car
which
did
one?
he wash?
Yeah.
There you go. All right, that's it. We're done. We're run out of time. I think I kind of thinking we're going to do 2 endings again.
Oh, you're not sure which way this one's going?
I just don't know which way this one's this one's flapping in the wind.
Do you think he's up for the challenge?
I think so. He
handled those hard-hitting journalistic questions.
Yeah,
from,
the Mannix thing.
Tony and Tim and.
Wait till Tony hears the Mannix.
Yeah.
Mannix is his ringtone.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You're gonna have to get a picture. You're gonna have to get a picture of the Mannix and put it on.
That's what we'll put on there. That'll be the cover of this. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Like I did for Lance Mendheim, because he kept talking about Miami Vice. So
Vice, yeah.
So I went and got a picture of that.
Ooh, Crockett and Tubbs.
Yeah. Exactly. And his alligator Elvis.
Oh yeah.
Kelly, can you give out our email address?
Oh, I'm going to try. This is a tough one. If you want to reach us through email, you can reach us at modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modeler with 1 L like electronics, not 2 L's like logical.
Not bad.
Yeah,
it was great. What was wrong with that?
I don't know. It just didn't have that zing that we usually have.
That's because you got it right the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not very entertaining when you get it right. You've actually doing it's very entertaining. You've been doing great with that lately.
Yeah, you've come out of your slump. You're stepping up to the plate now, starting to get the base hits.
My favorite part of this the thing that makes me laugh the most about this podcast regularly, I always laugh. I'm always sitting here killing myself laughing can you do New York, New York? That always makes me laugh.
Oh, God.
And we have a website. So if this is on the free channel, we have a website, amodelerslife.com. And if you go there, you can find out all about our podcast. What do you think of our podcast, Jim?
I enjoy them.
Good.
Yeah, I have the podcast app on my phone, and I listen to them while I'm eating my ice cream sundae on Saturday.
Perfect. That's the perfect
Ooh,
time.
doesn't that confusing have a Sunday on Saturday?
Yes, it is, but I enjoy it.
The podcast get your mind around that?
Yeah. Well, the contradiction is a lot of fun.
Yes.
It's always. So anyways, if you go there to our website, amodelerslife.com, and you'll see all about, if you didn't catch the email address, if you just click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, boom, all the work is done for you as far as the address goes. All you do is fill in your text and whatever it is you want to complain about. And we love positive emails and negative emails. We love them all. Criticism or positive. And Jim,
Yes.
have you ever wanted a mug with a picture of a hot dog on it?
Oh, either that or a sock, one of the two.
Yeah. Hey, I don't think we have a sock mug, do we?
Should.
Yeah, we should. That's a great idea. Good
Yeah.
thinking, Jim.
Forimprint.com.
Yes.
Wow.
We have people to look after that for us. We're over there at Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com. Over there, Stephen Atwell and his crew in Independence, Missouri, they are the official suppliers of our merchandise. And if you go to their website and scroll across the navigation bar and click on AML, boom, you are in a wonderland of AML merchandise. Hats, hoodies, mugs, T-shirts, whatever you want. You can get a T-shirt with a hot dog on it. So you can get a T-shirt with a fighting sock on it. Anything you need is over there.
Can you get a T-shirt with a sock fighting a hot dog on it?
That's not a bad idea, though. Eh?
Does it have hot dog sauce?
Yeah, hot dog sauce.
Yeah.
Never put ketchup on your hot dog, Jim. You can put ketchup on your garbage plate, though. That would be good.
That's the way you eat them. Yes.
Yeah.
It is the prescribed way
With ketchup.
to smother it in ketchup.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd smother it. It was pretty tasty without it, so I put some ketchup on it. Now, speaking of iRacing, in about 9 minutes, there's a 80 lapper at Texas Motor Speedway. And I got to work on my, I've been struggling with my cornering, my corner exit off of turn 2 because it's a little tighter, and I've done something, and the truck is kicking out on me.
Have you had trouble with your pedals yet?
No, I have not had trouble with my pedals.
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky that way, and I've been giving them a pretty good beating too.
Yeah, my throttle pedal is, I've had to repair it twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't had any problem with my throttle pedal.
Not the brake, they just slow you down.
Yeah, exactly. What do you need a brake for? I think that's my problem coming out of turn 2. Let's see. Okay, have I covered everything, or am I missing something? Oh yeah, and if this is on the what's that?
You got to mention Patreon.
Yeah, that's just what I'm about to do. Yes.
Okay.
And oh yes, if this is on the free channel and you really like it, and you'd like twice as much podcasting every week for just 365 payments of 16 cents a day, you can get twice as much podcasting by clicking on our Patreon link on our website at amodellerslife.com. And boom, you can join Patreon and get twice as much podcasting, which you may be listening to here. Or I got a feeling this is going to be on the free channel. I feel fairly confident it's going to be on the free channel. Maybe we'll get Jim back to talk about other stuff that we can put on the Patreon channel.
Dime for sale.
I always like that once in a while. I just stop talking, see what happens.
Yeah.
And that makes for dynamic podcasting when there's nothing going on.
Everybody's tapping
Dead
on
air.
your ear, but what happened? What happened?
Dead air. Dead air.
Dead air. That's dynamic podcasting.
Oh, my internet went out.
Yeah. So Jim, we're going to go one of two ways here. Let me get all the, let's see which one. Oh yeah, we'll do the first one first.
Hey, there you go.
As opposed to doing the first one second.
All right, that's good.
So Jim, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
Dentists.
dentists. Dentists? Where did that come from?
Well, we do have a super fan as a dentist.
Yeah, that's right. From Rhode Island, right?
That's true.
Yes,
Wayne Mullahan. We haven't talked to him for a while. We got to get him back on the podcast too.
Yeah.
And Jason Glocky and Tim Garland and a whole bunch of people. There's all kinds of people out there. All right, Jim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the key here is at the appropriate time you have to say happy rails to you, which I know you already know, but the key is there's no interpretation. There's no singing, no dancing, no interpretation, just strictly happy rails to you. Well, Jim, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
and Busted Knuckle, guests of a Modeler's Life podcast, stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
Oh, so you chose not to do it with enthusiasm?
Exactly.
I just thought of that. We're going to hear that again on the podcast more than
I'm
once.
still trying to get the stuff off my shoe here.
Yeah.
Is it finally eating through the sole of the shoe into your foot?